This is Brian Mayer, host of Hot Sauce Weekly, and you are listening to BCRN, all barbecue and grilling all the time.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
And welcome to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things that are important to the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evenings, a live fire, fun, and frivolity show. If you'd like to get in contact with the show tonight, or you'd like to follow the show during off-show hours, here's how you do it.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to greg@bbqcentralshow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening, in case you get the newsletter. It is the second Tuesday of the month, and in the first interview segment of this show, you know who we're having, the creator of AmazingRibs.com, a guy singularly named Meathead. There he is. We will join Meathead. We will talk to him about a number of topics, get an update on Barbecue Stars, the videos, integration. We'll talk about some other things that might be panning out from a prognostication made early in 2023. And then we will move to 35 past the hour for, in that second interview spot, it is also second Tuesday of the month regular guest and contributing barbecue editor to Southern Living Magazine, Robert Moss. And tonight, Robert Moss and I will talk a bit about the 10 finalists for the 2024 Barbecue Hall of Fame. We mentioned that exclusively here this past Wednesday, along with the help of the American Royal, Elizabeth Gunter, and of course, Amy Mills, who sat in as well to give some bio and background on the 10 finalists that are in there this year. So we'll talk to Robert about that. And we will also do a deep dive into spices and rubs and where they fit into the pantheon of Southern-style barbecue. And that'll bring a close to the first hour. Then move to the second hour. All I can say is, in my humble opinion, and I don't throw this word around a lot, barbecue legend goes by two names, Jim Minion. That's right, Jim Minion. Now, maybe you're a little new to the game. You weren't around during the forum years when that was hot technology. Jim Minion is a man that you should be thanking your lucky stars for how you fire your cooker and you didn't even know it. I'm not going to give it all away here in the open, but in the second hour, you're going to want to stay around. We have them for at least one segment, and depending how the conversation is going, we could run them into 35 past the second hour because I don't have a guest loaded in, solely for the reason that I wanted to see how this discussion was going to unfold. In my estimation, hugely famous, should be in the Barbecue Hall of Fame, should be recognized widely for who he is and what he's contributed to the live fire world. Maybe one of the biggest single inventions or creations in live fire since the grill or charcoal or you name the basic essentials that make live fire what it is today, Jim Minion is one of those guys. So if you don't know who he is, stick around for the second hour. So that's how the show's shaping up. Meathead and Robert Moss first hour, Jim Minion second hour. Don't forget you can follow me socially. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, LinkedIn, all at the handle at BBQ Central Show. We say good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of our video streaming platforms. You can get the show on video through Facebook.com/BBQ Central Show or Twitter.com/BBQ Central Show, or you can go all the way over to YouTube and watch it at YouTube.com/@BBQ Central Show, where we do have a new YouTube poll question of the week, and we're asking everybody this, including all guests. You believe that Sam's Club can sell a well-built, feature-rich grill at a value price, and currently 56% of you are saying you don't believe. It's tight. Not too long ago, it was 50-50. Not too long before that, it was 67-33, no and yes, respectively. So right off the bat, we're starting in a hotly contested YouTube poll question of the week. Again, 56% of you are currently saying no, you don't believe that. But we'll do our best to change your mind as the show goes on and as the show goes on. This show, future shows is what I should be saying. Results from the poll question of last week. How quickly do you expect a text message reply after you send one? 1 minute or less, 5 minutes or less, or no expectation of reply at all. And 55% of you said 5 minutes or less, and 32% of you said you have no expectation that you're going to get a reply at all. And to those 32% of the people that say you have no expectation, what the hell are you sending it for in the first place? If you're sending a text message, if I'm sending a text message, and by the way, I fell in the 11% that said they expect a reply in 1 minute or less. Because unless I am busy otherwise through work or an emergency in life, I'm replying back to any and all text messages within a minute or less, by and large. So I demand the same for my audience. But why would you send a text message if almost the majority of folks say you have no expectation? You're just floating it out there in hopes that maybe, well, you're not even hoping you get an answer. You're not even expecting is what I should say. Well, that's the way the poll ended last week, in case you were wondering. So we'll start here this evening. As you can imagine, people are still buzzing over the Andrew Zimmern interview from last week. 35 past the first hour. We ran them over into the second hour for a little bit because conversation was going so well. In full disclosure, in case you missed it, there was a crowning moment for me that happened last Tuesday when I asked Andrew specifically, and I'll paraphrase it, about the dilution of talent in TV today. I believe what I said specifically was, do you think in this day and age with all the outlets available, it's easier to make television, or do you feel that there has now become a dilution of talent? And in case you missed what he said exactly this.
That's one of the most intelligent questions anybody has ever asked me.
Of course it is. Like, who do you think you're dealing with? This isn't some run-of-the-mill podcast. This isn't some party line that you just happen to waltz into and now you're hearing some guys talk about nonsense stuff. You take the time to separate yourself from everybody else by how? Sounding professional, demanding high-quality sound from guests. By the way, as you would recall, I was supposed to have Andrew on the show towards the end of January, and he wasn't up to audio snuff. So I cut him right before the show started. Sent him out some gear. We got it tested, and all of a sudden, everybody's so happy. Let's look at some past show feedback. Dennis in Colorado is writing in. Greg, Andrew Zimmern interview was Hall of Fame stuff. Outstanding. He looked and sounded incredible. Great call rebooking him. Such a smart interview conducted by you. Big score Regards, Dennis. Dennis, thank you for writing in. I agree. Big score, no doubt. Very large personality, both from a popularity standpoint and an opinion standpoint. We covered some of that last week. Jamie in Missouri writing in, Greg, I didn't know anything about Sam the cooking guy being on the Today Show, let alone him telling Hoda Kotb and Kathy Lee Gifford to be quiet when he was on a second time. I went to YouTube to see it. I've watched it at least 100 times or more. It's so good. I love it. Thanks for bringing it up and telling us all about it. Podcast listener only. Regards, Jamie. Jamie, of course. When I think of best things to watch on YouTube, inevitably I'm typing in Sam the Cooking Guy, Hoda, Kathy Lee, and there it is. And it was a long time ago, 15 years ago. So the quality is bad. It's not high def anymore, but come on. Sam telling those broads to put a sock in it was tremendous. Second time only. Hey, by the way, as we circle back to the poll question of the week, do you think that Sam's Club can sell a well-built, feature-rich grill at a value price? Well, how about this? Say hello to the future of grilling with a patented thermostatic control technology. That's right. You heard me right, meathead. Members Mark Grill, sold exclusively in Sam's Club stores, now has patented thermostatic control technology on a gas grill. 2 cooking modes that allow you to cook the way you want. First mode, we call it barbecue or grill mode. Your traditional grilling experience, variable temperatures on the knobs, giving you the control of each burner to adjust exactly the way you want it on your terms, just like you've come to know and love from gas grill. Then you have the game-changing mode called oven mode. So above, this is a 5-burner Pro Series I'm talking about, above the burner knobs, there's a smaller knob that gets you into oven mode. Starts at 225 on the low end, increases to 250, and then 50-degree increments around the dial until you get to 450. Simply set the thermostatic control dial to your desired temperature, and now your grill transforms into a precise oven. So the choice is yours. Do you want to do it regular grill style with twisting the knobs, or do you just want to dial in a temperature and cook something else like a meatloaf or bread? I mean, pretty much anything you want to cook in your oven, you can cook. And the Members Mark Pro Series grill, both the 4-burner and the 5-burner, have the thermostatic control technology on it. So, only available, as I said, at Sam's Club store. So if you're not a member, you got to go to Sam's Club and become a member, number one. And then go check out that grill for yourself. And you see how much value they've packed into that mother. Members Mark Pro Series with thermostatic control, now available at all of your local Sam's Club stores. Check it out. Made by Winners Products. They're the ones that are sponsoring the show, believe it or not. Winners, not Sam's, Winners. They love the grill so much they wanted to talk about. And we will have James Howe on the show in 2 weeks' time to talk further. Lots of great info coming from James. Meanwhile, Meathead is ready to go. We'll get to him here in just 1 second. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back to this portion of the show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. You know by now what they have, so go directly to the following websites to purchase: Amazon.com, Lowe's.com, or Walmart.com. Same great products that they have on cookinpellets.com, but the best shipping rates around at those other websites. My first guest tonight created one of the most heavily trafficked barbecue and grilling websites, and then has continued to foster it as such. Is a best-selling author, a Barbecue Hall of Famer, but more importantly than that, a Barbecue Central Show's guest Hall of Famer. But more importantly than that, my pal, Meathead, is back at it. All right, Meathead, here we go. Before we jump into it this evening, well, wait, before I get into anything this evening, do we need to do a mic check? Because last time you said the microphone was broke, and, let's hear it now.
Testing.
Right.
1, 2.
We're good.
You know,
too.
Greg,
yes.
That's the most intelligent question anybody's ever asked me.
That's one of the most intelligent questions anybody has ever asked me.
That's right. He said it live here on the show. Meathead, I'm asking you and other guests as well as people watching on the YouTube channel, you believe that Sam's Club can sell a well-built, feature-rich grill at a value price, yes or no?
I've only been in Sam's Club like once in my life about 5 years ago, so I don't know much about the company, but why not? I mean, the concept of grill design is pretty well established. As you know, I thought you alluded to it earlier, have been calling for thermostat control in gas grills for years.
We've talked about it forever.
If it's finally here, it makes sense. I mean, we have thermostat control on our indoor ovens. Why not on our outdoor ovens? So bless them. I'm going to go down there. I'm going to tell Max about it if he doesn't know about it. And we're going to have to check this baby out.
All right. So 53% of the voting public currently saying that they do not believe that it can be something that is produced, but closely are the yeses, both you and I, and 47% of the voting public. Any updates on Barbecue Stars and Pitmasters Club and integration? What can you tell us?
Yeah, last month you broke the news that AmazingRibs.com has purchased BarbecueStars.com. BarbecueStars.com was launched in 2019, and it contains 120 broadcast quality videos from some really good pitmasters: Tuffy, Stone, Harry, Sue,
Jack Arnold.
It's just Kent Rollins. Many of these people have been guests on your shows, chefs, and they're all great videos. And they sold the whole subscription series for $300. And it just kind of went along, and they sold a couple of thousand, and it kind of petered out. And it's just been sitting there idling, and there's such great content. So we made him an offer, and we bought all 120 videos. And now they are available effective today. Mm-hmm. So again, you're breaking this story to the members of our Pitmaster Club. And membership in our Pitmaster Club is not $299 as the videos originally sold for.
Right.
It's only $35. So you can get all 120 videos for joining the Pitmaster Club, plus the many other benefits the Pitmaster Club has. We're really happy. It's been a big project integrating the two, and eventually we'll move it all onto AmazingRibs.com. But now it's still BBQstars.com. But you can't get in unless you have a membership in the Pitmaster Club. So come to AmazingRibs.com, join the Pitmaster Club for $35 a year, and get a $300 series of videos. You can take a 30-day free trial, and you'll get a small number of the videos, but not all of them.
All right, just enough to wet your whistle to pry that $35 out of your hand. A lot of value there, of course.
Yeah. It's really, I mean, I sound promotional and sales oriented here, but it's really a great series. 120, not talking 10, 20. God, I sound like Popeils. 120 videos. I mean, where else are you going to get this?
Light from Lantern in the instant chat is saying any relation to Knit Stars. Like, that's where the whole thing came from. We're not going to go back into the whole backstory of how this came to be, but that lady killed it on knitting, and then somebody said, what about barbecue? And they decided to venture off, and that's how Barbecue Stars have it.
Yeah, Knit Stars was a huge success. There are a vast number of people who are into knitting. And Richard Alexander from Hasty Bake is our friend and said, let's do it with barbecue. And they did it. And they did okay. I think she broke even or made some money, not a lot. It was a little bit disappointing. And but in any case, it's now mine. And I'm just thrilled to death. I mean, you just go to amazingribs.com/BBQ-stars and learn about it. It's just really cool.
On March 15th, 2023, if you can remember all the way back then, over a year ago, you came on the show, you did the better part of a segment talking about how AI or artificial intelligence was going to change the world for people using Google search, especially as a way to drive traffic to the website or generate revenue for their website. It was going to be a whole new world. You gave speeches and dissertations at higher education facilities. What's new, and is your talk from a year ago panning out as you thought?
Yeah, I first called this actually in fall of 22, and then I did a presentation at Rochester Institute of Technology to the master's degree program and graduates of the master's degree program, telling them, look out. This is a freight train coming at you, and it is going to entirely change the internet. And today, Google announced that their whole search engine philosophy and approach is going to change. When you go to Google and ask it a question, and this is a topic that I know you're into, should you rest meat after you cook it? It will give you not just a list of websites that discuss this topic, but it will give you an answer. And what we're not clear on, and I'm pretty sure I understand what is next, is that websites like mine who discuss this can be viewed along with this answer if we grease their palm with money. This has always been their business model. Pay for advertising. So if you want to be high on the hit list of Google today, you pay.
I thought you used to be high on the list because you were generating the most traffic and you were doing SEO and all this other bullshit.
Google, as you I'm sure know, has always had essentially two hit lists. One is those sites that they consider meritorious and informational, that have good answers to the question. But right next to it or above it or around it, they always had websites that paid to be there. And they were marked clearly, but not that obviously. If you're paying attention, you could tell what was an ad and what was meritorious. But nobody is for sure on how the new Google search is going to look. And of course, that will also affect the way Bing, Microsoft search looks. But this is what's going to happen. If you go to Google and you ask, should I rest my steaks after I cook it? It's going to give you an answer, not a number of websites that try to answer it. And there's a real problem here. For example, that question that I just used is something that I know you and I have talked about, and you interviewed Chris Young, who just did some experiments. I've been advocating for years that it doesn't make a lot of sense. Chris, who's a scientist, went out and ran research tests to prove. And so he and I stand alone in this world of culinary, saying that maybe resting meat after cooking just doesn't make sense. There's some good reasons. Here's the test data. But if you search Google, it's going to bring you the consensus, which is by every website known to man, rest your meat after you cook it.
Here's what I found when I put it in just a few seconds ago. Now, this one looks like it's coming from marthastewart.com. So I said, should I rest steak after I cook it? And then it says up here, whether you're using bone-in, boneless cut, blah, 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 blah. So it looks like they scraped that off of Martha Stewart, and then they're giving her some type of credit on it.
Right. But you're looking at the old Google. There is now you can sign up to test the new AI-based Google.
Yeah.
And I did that today, and it did what I described. It didn't give you Martha Stewart. It gave you a Google AI answer that it pulled from Martha and elsewhere. And of course, the dissenting or the myth busting or the minority view is not shown. And this is a problem. I mean, for example, people, the entire internet says don't wash your cast iron with soap. And that's been disproven. The question is, will the new AI devices understand that there is a new or a myth busting or a minority viewpoint, or will it continue to give you the old myths? And so it's a problem.
From a business standpoint, we could sit here and argue all day about how valid is the information coming back. Is it debunked information? Is it whatever? But if you pay $300 a month or $3,000 a month like you had before, your ad is still going to show up, or you're still going to be supported, but you're underneath the you're underneath the answer that Google wants to give you, or because you're a paying customer, they're going to put them above the answer. Because to me, like if I'm a business person, or if I'm Google and I'm soliciting money, or I want to make money in this way, you're the customer. I would want to make sure that you're seen first and that I'm not seen first. Otherwise, there's a very good chance somebody's going to read it and then they're done with it. They're not going to start scanning down the page.
Right. Yeah. Ideally, the AI answer would be footnoted. This information is garnered from the following websites or the following books or whatever their sources are. Listeners may not be aware, but the New York Times and Washington Post and many publications out there, Associated Press, I think, are all suing ChatGPT, which is the predominant AI search engine, for scraping their information. Which, if you're the New York Times or Associated Press, you pay reporters a lot of money to go into the field and gather data, and then ChatGPT and Google scrapes this information and presents it without accreditation. I mean, I've often talked to people who write for us, and I say, you have to give credit to people whose information you're using. First of all, they deserve the credit. Second of all, it makes you creditable. It makes you look like you've done your homework. So this is all, it's rapidly changing. I called it in fall 22. I did this big presentation at Rochester Institute of Technology in February, and you and I talked about it in March of 23, and it is now coming to pass, and it is going to change the internet drastically. It's going to be a massive upheaval, and for websites like mine, which depend on Google for about 60-70% of our traffic, it could mean a tremendous impact on our traffic and our revenue. It could mean death. And that is a trap for Google, because if they depend on people like us, authoritative websites, and they take away our traffic and put us out of business, then how are they going to present useful answers? All of this will shake down within the next 6 months to a year. But everybody who's listening, not just educational sites like mine, but barbecue restaurants, and there were some demonstrations given. Give me a good barbecue restaurant near me. How do they determine what's good? It's going to affect everybody. Everybody. It's going to be massive.
So what's the pivot here? If we're being presented with, if having a generative response come back instead of the traditional Google search is the COVID of the day, and there were restaurants shutting down. We don't know how to do. Well, now we're going to do takeout, or now we're going to leverage delivery service. There were pivots to stay in business. So what's the pivot for folks in order to stay in business or get another revenue stream to replace what might be taken away?
Greg, that's the smartest question anybody's ever asked me.
That's one of the most intelligent questions anybody has ever asked me.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is the $64,000 question. I think, and we've been talking about this on our team for more than a year, since I blew the alarm in 22. I think, number one, you've got to build your mailing list. You've got to be able to find people and reach out to them now. You've got to get them into your own umbrella. So building your mailing list, if you're a restaurant or somebody else, you've got to start building your email mailing list. Because if Google doesn't show you when people search, you're not going to get traffic, and you're going to have to find ways to reach people your own. And you better start advertising. You better allow. My website spends, now, we generate, not going to give you a number.
$1 billion.
Well, we have 15,000 members paying $35 a year, roughly, plus advertise, yada, yada, yada. Our advertising budget last year was under 10 grand. I mean, basically, we don't advertise. We've never had to, because we are such a reliable, authoritative source on barbecue that Google has always found us. When people search for questions, they find us and they come to us. So it's all come for free. If this new system is as I think it's going to be, we are going to have to pay Google to be visible. And when I first thought about this, I thought, man, Google's shooting its own foot off. But in fact, I think they may be uncovering a greater revenue stream than they had before.
Here's the question.
Buy Google stock.
Yeah. Is this the death nail, or the beginnings of death nail, for websites in general? Will my website become irrelevant? No need for me to keep a website anymore. No need for anybody to keep a website anymore. And is that a potential fuck you to Google by everybody pulling their websites off, and now there's nothing to scrape? There's no information.
Well, of course, it's a complicated answer. Many websites, it won't affect at all. I mean, if you're an accountant, you need to have a website on how to contact me. And you may have articles about how the current tax laws affect. So it may not affect you, because there's a bazillion accountants, and chances are Google isn't showing you anyhow. But for sites like mine, it's going to affect AmazingRibs.com and many of the barbecue websites, the informational websites, the educational websites like ours. It's going to affect us unless we find a way around it. And, we have to see what Google is going to do with advertising. Will it be affordable? Will it be visible? Will they allow footnotes in their AI answers? None of these things we know for sure yet. My gut instinct is we have got to start budgeting for advertising, and we've got to find our audience and capture them and collect emails and reach them and drive them to the website via other means than search.
We're going to see how this unfolds over the next handful of months. The Meathead will keep us up to date on what's happening with AmazingRibs.com. In the meantime, you go to AmazingRibs.com, you check out all the free information, and then you fork over $35 and become a member of the Pitmaster Club if you aren't already, so you have access to the 120 broadcast quality videos, which Meathead does some himself. He is one of the talents on there. And you can see him right here on the second Tuesday of every month here on the Barbecue Central Show. Meathead, always appreciate the time, and we will see you in June.
Greg, always great to talk to you, and fun to reach out to the Centralites.
That's right. Meathead, right there. Not necessarily barbecue talk, but look, a lot of us own websites. A lot of us own websites that are secondary streams of income that you might be reliant on Google, as Meathead was talking about. They are over at AmazingRibs.com, at least to a large degree. So if you're in a similar situation, now it's time to make boss moves, as we say in the industry. Don't get caught lagging around and hoping that it just goes away on its own, because that's foolish thinking. Got to get out there and make some new moves. Look for the next pivot, like we were talking about. All right, Robert Moss is ready to go. Before we get to him, we'll talk to you about Schwank Grills. What do we know about Schwank Grills? Portable, yes. Something that you could permanently place in your backyard if you wanted to? Of course. It's multifaceted. You could permanently put it in, but in a way where you can take it out and take the tailgates, because football season is coming soon. So what do we know? Everybody's talking about the grill. Everybody's promoting this grill. I was listening to the Pete and Sebastian show Tuesday. That would be this morning. Listening to the newest episode. Right at the top of the show, what are they talking about? Schwank Grills. Pete Corielli talking about Schwank Grills. What does he know about it? Nothing. Now, I'm the authority. So listen to me. You want to cook chicken? You want to cook burgers? You want to do steaks? Get all that restaurant quality searing, great Maillard reactions, delicate fish, vegetables, all that. And you need something that can achieve those temperatures. Infrared burner technology, 1500 degrees. Using that infrared burner technology, and you can do it all in minutes. It's not taking you 20 minutes, 30 minutes, nothing like that. Some of the best steakhouses in the country use the Schwank grill technology in their kitchens. Morton's, Del Frisco's, Cut 432, all of them use Schwank. Not Schwank-like, but the actual Schwank. And now you can have it in your home, in the backyard. Again, you can put it in your cars, your vans, your SUVs, take it wherever you want to go. Just bring the propane bottle with you. So you've bought it. I can feel it in my bones, but you want to save some money. How about I save you $150? Go to schwankgrills.com, SCHWAN key, schwankgrills.com. And then as you're checking out, use promo code BBQ Central. BBQ Central, all one word, for $150 off your Schwank Grills. Get two and give one to a pal. You'd be best friend ever for life. Plenty of ways to get to it through the show notes. There's a link there. You can click through on the newsletter if you subscribe to that, or you can just go to the main page of the website, thebbqcentralshow.com, and then click on the Schwank logo in the sponsor section. Takes you all over to schwankgrills.com, and then don't forget to use promo code BBQ Central at checkout to save that $150 off. Schwank Grills, proud sponsor of this show. Happy to have them. And we're happy to have Robert Moss, who is locked and loaded. So stick around, be right back.
You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the BBQ Central Show.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show is brought to you by Fireboard. You can monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. You can connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring, or the Bluetooth. Smart speaker, accessible and integratable. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. Good folks over at Fireboard. And by the way, it's Fireboard 2 and the Fireboard 2 Drive, if you're wondering. Guy the Cooking Sam saying it's Death Knell, not Death Nail. Isn't that what I said, Guy? I mean, F off.
Get that big stuff out of here.
I'm a professional orator, Guy. I speak from a professional perspective. People pay me to speak. You are a keyboard commando just waiting to pounce on one word that I say wrong. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, we're not such elites as you are, Guy. Sitting at your keyboard, ready to pounce on me if I make one mistake. Sorry, for the first time in 19 years, I've made an oration error. My bad. I won't do it again. I promise. No more. Okay? Joining me now in the 35 past the hour segment is the contributing barbecue editor of the Southern Living magazine, a 2023 Barbecue Central Show's guest Hall of Famer, and also my pal, Robert Moss. All right, Robert, a couple different things that I didn't think I was going to be asking you about that we'll go ahead and start with here. But first, YouTube poll question of the week, and we're asking everybody this, including all guests. You believe that Sam's Club can sell a well-built, feature-rich grill at a value price, yes or no?
I think it can. I don't know if it will or not, but it certainly seems like it could.
All right. Believe it or not, we've drawn back to 100% even through the voting. We're 50-50. Half of us believe that Sam's can, and half of us believe that Sam's cannot provide a well-built, feature-rich grill available at the Sam's Club at a value price. So we'll see how the rest of the poll works out. I don't know how much of the end of the interview you caught with Meathead, but he was diving pretty hard into AI, pretty much giving himself a pat on the back, saying that his thoughts on AI may be ruining everything as far as Google is concerned, or how the way it was operating in the past is not going to be how it's going to be operating from here on out. You're a writer. You are very savvy with the computer stuff. Do you have concerns about where Google is going? If you were a revenue-generating website, would you be concerned about your ability to stay in business? Your thoughts on that?
Yes, but I'm not more concerned than I was 2, 3, 4 years ago pre-AI. And this is speaking as someone who actually launched a internet publication in the past 3 years. And there is such a toll booth on the internet already. It has nothing to do with generative AI. It has to do with the stranglehold that Google has and Facebook has on the market. So I don't think AI is going to dramatically shift it. I think one thing that's curious is, have you talked to anybody who seems super excited about the potential of Google suddenly giving you AI summaries of websites? No one is saying this is amazing. If you can remember back when Google first came out, back in the days of Ask Jeeves and all those Alta Vista, you had search engines, you type stuff in and it would turn up garbage. And Google was fantastic because you type something into Google and all of a sudden it gave you links that you wanted to go visit. And it was magic and everybody loved it. I don't think anybody's having that same experience with Google right now. I hear a lot of complaints about it. So I don't feel like this is going, on the one hand, I don't think generative AI is going to be a boon. On the other hand, I don't think it's a new twist. I think it's just the latest saga. I would not be surprised, this is my prediction, if in 3 to 4 years, people use a very different means of discovering content on the internet than going to a search engine and typing words into a box, because the experience is getting worse and worse and it's not giving us what we want or what we need.
Not to continue down the rabbit hole too much longer, but I asked Meathead if he thought websites would become irrelevant or unnecessary to keep up as some might do now. Is that a thought or no?
I think free websites will become ones that you can just get to and just get lots of information off of. The economics don't work. I tried to launch one 2 or 3 years ago and just said this is pointless if to try to get something new into the market. I work for lots of websites and web content producers. Increasingly, they're putting up very firm paywalls. That they're doing subscription models. So I think the business model will change. I don't think your model will be put everything online for free and hope you attract a lot of eyeballs and then somehow make money out of it through advertising. I think you're going to see it go back to the way it used to be, which is you would pay money for content, and it may not be a lot of money, but it'd be more than zero.
For the last couple of years, we have enjoyed not only your segments here on this show, but you've also made appearances during what we call Hall of Fame month. And that's where we are right now. Barbecue Hall of Fame had their release of the 10 finalists this past Wednesday, a week ago tomorrow. And we learned who the 10 names, not all new by any stretch, but 10 names that are on this year's finalists. That list is sent out to the current living members of the Hall of Fame. They get to vote for their top 3 off the 10. And then whoever the top 4 vote. I'm sorry, they get to vote for their top 4 out of the 10, and then whoever the most, the highest vote getting 4 are the ones that will make up the living members of the
that's
Barbecue Hall of Fame.
new this year, because in previous years the top 3, so they've expanded it to let four people in this year.
Did you have a chance to look at the list?
I sure did. Yep.
Did you have any thoughts on the list as far as either recurring? Because there were 3 that were second year recurring. There was 1 that was a third year recurring, and then the rest made it on only for the first time this year. So amongst those 3 different categories, anybody that sticks out or general thoughts about the finalists?
Well, I don't think it's surprising. I think, and I thought Amy Mills did a great job last week, sort of giving the color commentary and all that. She has such, she knows so many people and has such great insight. But one of the things y'all talked about was, do you automatically get back on the list if you don't make it this year? I think it's interesting they let 3 people in. We have 3 new, first timers on the list, and the other 7 are repeats, or have been on it before. I don't think it was super surprising because a lot of those folks have been on the list before. And if you bubbled it to the top, I was stunned Greg Rempe was not on the list first and foremost, which
of course
my biggest takeaway.
Huge.
I thought this was the year for sure, and I feel bad that I wasn't at the table to help. Roll some logs.
I don't want to ask the question, so I'm going to ask it very generally. When you get to a point where a name is brought up, because you go through all of the names that come in through the general collection hopper, and then I would assume like 10 seconds are spent on somebody that nobody knows, and then there might be a longer process for somebody that everybody or the majority, the quorum might feel deserves a little bit more of an argument for. What's that process like? I mean, do you pick a name out and then secretly you're having discussions with somebody else to second or third you, or is it all done independently?
No, it's not. It's not that conspiratorial. I didn't sign anything to not give away my, not to tell the secrets. And it's really not that dramatic. But the matter of fact is, there's a long list. I think it's almost 100 people. I think it was
89. There were 89 different people nominated this year. That was surprising.
It's a huge list. And what you cannot do is get 6, 7, 8 people on a call and then talk about all 89 people, in order. So what you have to sort of do is, and the way we ended up sort of coming down to it was, everyone would sort of review the list offline by themselves, sort of have their picks. And then we just sort of go through the list, and anybody who wanted to would say, yes, let's discuss Greg Rempe. Let's discuss, Danielle BBQ. And, anybody who got the nod went on the short list, which usually ended up still being a lot, like 20, 30 people.
Yeah.
And then you would go through and have that discussion. So, so I think certain people go to bat for others, more than others. It's like any kind of spirited discussion, but it's reasonably straightforward. And I think, I don't think there's any, great injustices or anything in terms of who made it or who didn't make it.
Who should have
except,
been,
of course,
except for me.
Greg Rempe.
Yeah. Who should have been on the list aside from me? Who should have been on the list this year that isn't, in your opinion?
It's hard for me to say because I don't know exactly who was on the long list of all the nominees, because there are new nominees every year. But just in general, the ones I've not seen in the past, because I don't think they've even been nominated. But I feel like there are a couple of people that we're missing. Calvin Trillin is one of those. If you think about the writers who should be on there, I'm sort of surprised I've never seen him even nominated. Great barbecue writer. He wrote for the New Yorker for a long time. He's in his late 80s now. And I don't know that he's even still actively writing, but he was one of the early champions of American barbecue back in the 70s and 80s when it was really falling off the map. He was from Kansas City, went to bat for Arthur Bryant's and called it the best restaurant in the world, and wrote all kinds of wonderful
fiction
articles
writer,
about barbecue. Yeah, completely. He was traveling around the country for the New Yorker, doing these like political type of reports. But every now and again, he sort of file a view from the road about various types of food. And in fact, he's one of America's great food writers who wrote for the first time about all these wonderful local food festivals and food traditions, including lots of different barbecue joints at a time where most America wasn't interested in barbecue at all. He sort of helped bring it back and helped generate the revival of American barbecue that happened in the 90s and then into the 2000s. So not as well known. So maybe the Hall of Fame doesn't apply, but certainly as in terms of influence and importance, I'd put Calvin Trillin on Calvin Trillin on the list. I also think we're at this point where we've got we're starting to get this next generation of barbecue pitmasters and restaurateurs who maybe are finally ready to get on that list. And Sam Jones is one who I think of Skylight Inn and Sam Jones barbecue fame. Rodney Scott made it into the Hall of Fame already. Aaron Franklin made it into the Hall of Fame already. And they're all of this, but basically the same generation. They're that generation that early 21st century helped bring craft barbecue and back and put it on the map. And Sam, in his case, third generation pitmaster at Skylight Inn, is sort of just like Rodney Scott is, tapping into his family traditions. So Sam wasn't on the list this year, but he certainly belongs on it. Hopefully down the road, hopefully he'll be on there very soon.
Of the list that is currently existing for 2024, just for conversation's sake, who would you be voting for if you had a vote? Who would be your top four?
Yeah, I was thinking
By
about
the
that
way,
earlier.
everybody deserves the vote, all well accepting. But
I
who
don't
would be
think
the
anybody in the 10 does not deserve to be on that list.
Right.
But like everything, there's somebody, it should be their, this should be their year, and others, they'll get in a little bit later. I think Malcolm Reed for me is a slam dunk. He should be in this year. I think he was on the list last year.
Yes, this is the second time.
But just in terms of importance and impact, I think certainly he deserves it. I go back and forth between Dave Close and Fast Eddie. I feel like you only let one pit maker in per year. I think one of the two of them belongs. I may lean a little bit more toward Fast Eddie Martin, just because I think he sort of pioneered that gravity feed pellet cooker. So maybe Fast Eddie. Those are on the list. And then it's a sentimental favorite, but Steve Grady or Grady, depending how you say it, who's a pitmaster from Grady's Barbecue in Dudley, North Carolina, which I've been to many, many times. A fantastic place, off the beaten path. So he's definitely not world famous, but he is one of those links to the past. And Grady's Barbecue is not just a great barbecue joint, but it's sort of like a throwback to a style that we are losing. So I would probably have to vote for Steve, just for the almost the romance of that old style of whole hog cookery.
I'm going to save who I would vote in for next week or the week after that. Unfortunately, this is like the first time in recent memory when we've done this where our embedded correspondence segment hasn't been the Tuesday and then the next day where they actually announce. So it's going to be a week in advance of that. So we're all deciding we're going to use the honor system and come up with the four we think that the Hall is going to be putting in, and then be very honest with everybody else that following week when we've already learned who's in.
You should do a sealed envelope where everybody has to write it down. Seal it up,
so we'll do that, and then everybody will open it. But I think out of all the list, Steve Grady is in the third time. So if I'm a betting man, I would say the lockdown to get in, one of the four is going to be Steve, just because this is his third time on. And it appears that if you get on the list three times over the last few years, that eventually you get into the Barbecue Hall of Fame. So everybody else is two, like Dave and Ed and Malcolm are all second year, and then Roy Perez, Van Sykes, Phil McLeod, Andy Husbands, Rick Brown, and BBQ all first timers this year. So that's my thought on how this whole thing might shake out. And we'll see how that goes. A week from tomorrow, we will learn who the class is. We'll learn who the legacy members are, and if there will be an impact award here in 2024 as well. Anything you'd like to promote here before I let you go tonight?
Not a whole lot, except to say that I've been busy this month writing a bunch of barbecue pieces for Southern Living, which will come out over the next few months. But We are working on the best. We decided not to do the top 50 barbecue list this year. We've typically not done them every year. We did them back to back in 2023 and 2022 because so much had changed. So we're going to skip the top 50 list this year, and we're going to do the top, I think, 20 or 25. I think it's 25 best new barbecue joints in the South. And so I've been working on that and having a lot of fun with that. Took a spin up through Virginia, ate a lot of good Virginia barbecue. Virginia, maybe a topic for another time, is a wonderful state. With a wonderful barbecue state with a really revitalizing barbecue scene. So I'll promote that. That will be coming out sometime later this summer. So keep an eye out for the best new barbecue joints in the South.
All right. Robert, always appreciate the time, and we will see you in June.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Graham.
Robert Moss right there. Be on the lookout for the new stuff that he has coming out. Absolutely. Always looking forward to that. Virginia is steeped in the barbecue tradition. In fact, I believe some believe that it is where barbecue started. I know, fighting words, but if you go back through the history books, you might learn something. Are you tired of settling for mediocre grilling experiences? Then it's time to step your game up.
Step your game up.
Bring the ultimate flavor and cooker to the backyard barbecues. Pits and Spits charcoal grills, offering the highest quality live fire cooking experience you can get in the market today. Using either wood or charcoal, the solid fuel grills produce those classic flavors you're looking for when you have the time to fire up the grill and cook for family and friends. With a large adjustable fuel tray, you can raise and lower the fire to control and fine-tune the heat. Their take on the very popular Santa Maria style grill, check them out at pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central. That's pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central, all spelled out, and you can use promo code Charcoal Central at checkout. You can save $150 off this grill as well. Charcoal Central at checkout when you go to pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central. All right, let's wrap up this first hour. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
And we thank Robert Moss for joining us last segment. A lot of Hall of Fame talk, some unplanned computer AI talk as well, piggybacking on the previous segment with Meathead. We certainly appreciate that. RobertFMoss.com is his website. He's also somewhat active on social media handles. A lot of times it's Robert F. Moss. Twitter's a little different, Mosser RF or something like that. So just search for Robert Moss and you'll find him there if you like looking over on Twitter. We didn't get to the planned topic of rubs and seasonings and their tied history to Southern style barbecue. So we'll talk about that in June. That was a planned topic to go over, but with the release of the finalists for 2024 Barbecue Hall of Fame, and since he had been on the names committee for the last 2 or 3 years, that, as I mentioned, sat in and did some of that bio stuff when we were announcing those finalists over the last couple of years. Good to get his take. Man, between Fast Eddie and Dave Close, who do you pick? Does anybody even know who Fast Eddie and Dave Close are? Robert kind of let the cat out of the bag a little bit, but for the new folks, if you've only been in it for the last 10 years, do you know the names Fast Eddie? Do you know the names Robert Moss? Do you know the name Dave Close? Both, in my estimation, Hall of Fame worthy. I could make an argument that they should both be going in. It doesn't matter if they're pit makers or not. I think I might have let the cat out of the bag. All right, let's go ahead and refresh our libations. We'll point to the second hour. We'll get a poll recap or a poll update. Got some other things to get to as well. You are listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show right here on the Barbecue Central Network, Stick around. We'll be right back.